Hey, Journeymen and Journey women, this is a hero's journey with Dr. D, and I would like for you to do like, subscribe, and share and comment. And the commenting is very important because I'm trying to do a new thing with my lives. And when you comment and deposit something down below, as far as a comment, I'll be able to have information to discuss pertaining to the video that I'm pushing at this current time. Because if you don't comment, I'm not going to be on that live feed tonight at 9 o'clock. So that's just my insight. And also, I have things down below that actually you can click on, maybe some material that may be able to help you to get beyond your first move. However, the video today is about faith and fertility. Faith and fertility. It's connection. The connection is because I'm dealing with issues with my faith every day, and so are you. But this specific individual by the name Rokeya Worthy is dealing with an issue with her fertility, and she's pulling on her faith to help her get through this time in her life. And I'm introducing her as she presents in this video about the struggle she's dealing with her fertility, and she's pulling and believing and trusting in God to help her through this trial. However, she has a GoFundMe page. I ask every one of my journeymen and journey women to help her to deal with the cost, because her insurance is not covering the total expense of everything. So that's why I need the help of everybody else to actually help her so she can get over this hump, and so that she can actually push forward and see what the end gonna be. So let me stop talking and let me introduce you to Rokeya Worthy. So let's get it.
Hey everybody, it's Rokeya. I'm sure this post is very different, or rather it's going to be different than anything I've ever done before. So please excuse all the nervousness because it's definitely going to be very transparent, very vulnerable for me to share what I'm going to share with you today. But I'm doing it for a number of different reasons. One, to bring awareness, and two, definitely because I'm going to need your support. Since January and turning 35, I've had no problems posting all the great things, the fun things, the pretty things that I've been doing, and having a lot of enjoyment out of it. And been using the hashtag This Is 35. Well, what I'm getting ready to share with you all is also 35, and it's not a great situation right now, but it's still a part of my journey and a part of my story, and I feel like I'm ready to share what's going on. So here we go. So back over the summer, it was weighing on me really heavy to make an appointment and find a doctor so I could get my exam done. And I kept putting things off, but it really just, the feeling was so strong to make an appointment. And I know that was definitely God. So I was able to find a doctor, but she didn't have any availability until that fall, September. This was back in July. And I immediately started to disregard it, but it's like I felt the Holy Spirit saying, don't disregard it, stick with her. And so I went ahead and made the appointment, and that was scheduled for September 13th, and met with the doctor, had an amazing, time talking with her, having a consultation. She went ahead and, did the exams and everything that she needed to do. During the course of that exam, she discovered a nodule, and she kind of had a look on her face, and she said, well, it could be a number of different things. I'm really not too worried right now, but I do want to go ahead and set up an ultrasound for you to do. So that ended up happening about a little over a week later. So September 23rd, I went in for it, and I'm sitting there, and I'm seeing the screen as they're doing the ultrasound, and I thought I saw something, but I really wasn't sure what I was looking at. And so I asked the technician, do you see anything? And of course, by law, they can't tell you anything, but she said, you're going to meet with the doctor after this. And I said, okay. I really didn't think much about it, and so went ahead in the waiting room, waited for just a little bit, and then they called me into her office, and we were sitting there and just general talk, and she had her laptop open, and I remember her looking at the screen, and she kind of had this look on her face that was kind of surprised, and just trying to figure things out all at one time. And so I, looked and I said, is everything okay? And so she looked at me and she said, well, you have an ovarian dermoid cyst, which is a benign ovarian tumor on your left ovary. And I was very surprised to hear that because I had a very similar one 12 years ago on my right side. And at the time I was 23 years old, had no idea about any of these. And I wasn't really sure what to make of it or how serious it was. It ended up being very serious to the point that the cyst on my right side ended up twisting around my ovary. So they had to, in addition to removing the cyst, they had to take my ovary as well. And I was very concerned at the time because, I wanted to be a mom one day. And my doctor reassured me, you have one ovary left. So you'll be fine to have children. So I didn't think anything else about it. Also, because the reoccurrence of having this a second time is extremely low. So, the thought never crossed my mind. Now, 12 years later, I'm sitting back in this another doctor's office, and she's telling me that I have the same situation. This time it's a little worse than the first time. And the fact that it is much larger than it was on the right. And when she told me that, tears just started coming out. And I, said, I only have one ovary left. What does that mean? And I remember her looking at me and saying, I'm going to do everything I can to save your ovary, preserve your fertility. She went to talk to the technician and she came back in and she said, I really am confident that you don't, but I do want to get some blood work done so we can rule out ovarian cancer. And you're also going to need to have surgery so that I can remove the cyst. So, as you can imagine, hearing all of this in one setting, it was completely overwhelming, and it was just a lot to take in at that moment. So we went ahead and scheduled the blood work and talked about the surgery. I talked with my parents, and so they were, of course, going to come down to be here to support me. And thankfully, the test came back negative for ovarian cancer, so I was so grateful for that, but we still had the complication with the cyst. And so she wanted me to look at egg retrieval, and she also wanted to consult one of her surgeon colleagues just to get his recommendation on it. And, as it's leading up to the surgery a couple of days out, I still hadn't heard anything. And so I decided, well, we'll just go ahead and move forward with the surgery. I know that there are some risks involved with me doing that because a lot of things can happen with the course of the surgery, and I was aware of that, but I was just trusting God, and I said, you've got this, and we'll just go ahead and move forward with the surgery. Whatever happens, it's in your will, and it's going to be okay. And so, like literally on that Thursday, as we're getting into the weekend leading up to that Monday for the surgery, my doctor unexpectedly calls me and she says, I just heard back from the doctor. He was out of the country. I explained everything. We discussed your case. He looked at your, exams. He looked at your x-rays. And what she said next really shocked me. And it devastated me all at the same time. And she said that he was highly recommending that I do an egg retrieval because if not, there was a very good chance, a very strong chance that I'm going to end up losing my other ovary during surgery. And the reason for that, again, is because of the size and the complications that arose with it. Even if they were able to save the ovary, it's going to end up being severely damaged to the point that it will not function in order for me to have children. So, hearing all of that, it was a lot to take in, and I really didn't know what to think about it. And what made it even harder to hear that was because my insurance does not cover this. So all of the fertility treatments, the medicines, the egg retrieval, storage, all of that, they don't cover it. And so this is anywhere from a $10,000, maybe $15,000 procedure, and I have no coverage for it. And it's something that I need to have done. And that was really hard to hear, knowing that this is something that I need, but I can't afford. And so we talked through a couple of things. They immediately postponed my surgery. And I went into talk with him instead of having the surgery on that Monday. I had to call my parents and tell them not to come right at that moment so I could figure out what was going on. And so we had to run more tests. And, by this point, I was so tired of being poked and prodded and all of those things. And he walked me through everything that would have to be needed for this. And it was really hard. I'm looking at this tumor on the screen, and he's explaining about the fact that, you are going to end up losing this. And so I want to prepare you, but I also want to help to preserve your fertility. And I really appreciated him stepping in to plead on my case and see what was going to be the best option for me to take. And so, in the meantime, I was looking at medical loans. I was looking at grants and scholarships. The medical loans, of course, did not work out. I tried for two different ones and it just didn't work out. I looked at grants and scholarships and those weren't working out because a lot of the deadlines had passed in order for me to look at possibly securing any sort of funding for this. And so it was getting very discouraging. And I remember calling my mom in tears and I said, I don't have any fight left, and I know what the inevitable is, and I just need to go ahead and start accepting that. And that was hard to think that going into this surgery, knowing that I won't be able to carry my own biological children, was a lot, because being 35 and still being single, not even married yet, like, how do you even really come to terms with that? But I didn't have any other options left. And so I really had to embrace that fact. And so I ended up texting my doctor, and I told her, like, there's nothing else that I can do, so let's just go ahead and schedule the surgery and I'll just deal with whatever comes. And because we can't let this go much further, having this size of a cyst, it does get critical to me, and you want to make sure that my health is okay. And so she said, well, what about looking at a GoFundMe? And I was like, absolutely not. I don't want to put my business out there. And she totally understood where I was coming from. And she said something that was so key to me. She said that, a lot of times people disregard those because, for fear of asking, and, out of, fear of rejection and pride and different things like that. She said, but you never know if by sharing your story that you may connect with somebody that may want to give towards these expenses to help you. And so I kept thinking about it, and I decided to launch this GoFundMe, but I wanted to make it into a campaign to also bring awareness to infertility. Once I got off the phone with the doctor, it was crazy. All of these ideas just started coming to me. And for those of you that do know me now, I work in marketing, so all of these concepts just started coming, and I ended up coming up with Faith and Fertility, and I designed a logo out of it, and I intentionally wanted to make faith bigger than fertility. So I intentionally had faith capitalized and fertility lowercase, and of course with the cross, keeping Christ at the center of it. So I wanted to make this into a campaign and see about, possibly getting any sort of funding that could help to cover these medical expenses. Because, like I said, with this cost, it's anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 that I just don't have, and that's where I would need your support. Anything that you would be able to contribute would be such a blessing to me, even if it's no more than $5 for fertility. That would be a huge help to me, to help to try to preserve my fertility so I can one day be a mom. But I started thinking even bigger than that, and how I'm not just the only one that's going through this. Unfortunately, there are a lot of couples that are dealing with infertility every single day. And so my heart really went out to them as well. And even though I'm in this situation and in this position right now, I just started thinking about them, and I wanted to set a specific goal, which you'll see included in the GoFundMe link. But if I'm blessed to be able to meet that goal and also exceed it, I want to be able to create a fund so that I can in turn bless the next person or the next couple that are dealing with infertility due to unforeseen circumstances, and their insurance doesn't cover it as well. I don't want them to go through what I've had to go through, and I would love to be able for them to be a patient at the institute where I am right now under their care. It's just to be a blessing to them and to be able to pay it forward in some sort of way. So maybe one day we can get our insurance companies to get on board with looking at covering these treatments, because they're insurmountable, and that's what I'm faced with right now. So I definitely see that in the future being able to do that, and I would love for this campaign to be able to provide that for someone else, because it's a very scary situation to be in. I don't wish this on anybody. And it's a lot of emotions that go into it, because as a woman, you wonder, what's wrong with me? Why do I feel so defective? And it's really hard. And a lot of times, the first thing people will say is, oh, well, you can adopt and you can look at surrogacy. But what you don't understand is when you have always wanted to be able to carry your own biological child and looking at that chance being taken from you, any other option just feels like an insult. It feels like something that is a slap in the face. And all of those options are wonderful. And I may have to look at that one day, but I have to also entertain the fact of this is where I am right now and trying to come to terms with that. And that does take some time, but ultimately this is what I'm looking to do, and I wanted to launch it on this day because my surgery for the tumor being removed has been rescheduled for December 10th. So that leaves 30 days, and I know that probably seems like not a lot of time to be able to do this, and maybe I'm just crazy enough to step out on faith to see what can happen. But I'm determined to do it because when I first was encountered with all of these things happening all at once, and it was just, I can't even explain to you the amount of fear that I did have. And yes, I did have fear. Of course, at the end of the day, I always trust and believe God's best for my life. But the human side of me just had this fear. And there were moments where I just laid in bed because I just did not have a fight left to deal with this. And I knew that that was not the Rokeya that I knew. And I know that I'm a fighter, not knocking people out, but I have such a strong passion for things and for causes. And so I just got to the point where I said, if I have to have one fight left when it comes to this before I have to deal with the inevitable, then God help me to come up with how to do that and to also be a blessing to somebody else. So at least at the end of the day, if I'm not able to make my goal, it's okay. That money will still go towards surgery expenses that I still have to take care of, but at least I can go into that surgery knowing that I did give it one good fight left, and that I won't have any regrets. And I thought about a belief that Harriet Tubman had one time, and she said that it's better to live for a cause rather than living just because. And I kept praying about what was the reason that my surgery was postponed, it was interrupted, because I was going in with that. And maybe this was the interruption, I don't know. But I did have to at least try, and I wanted to be able to share that with you all, just to let you know what is going on right now, and just to see what God can do through this. I don't ever want to limit God on his miracles and how he's going to perform. I don't know how all of this is supposed to work, but I know that he's going to work it out. And yes, this is a very personal story, but at the end of the day, I do trust the author. So I just wanted to again share that with you all. I definitely need all of your prayers right now, your support. I am not out of the woods yet. I'm not really feeling my best. I'm not really feeling my greatest. And every day I'm thankful that I don't wake up with severe pain, because that could signal more complications. And so I'm trying to do the best that I can to rest when I need to. I've cut back on a lot of travel so that I'm able to, have as much energy and preserve as much energy, because the fatigue is just completely overwhelming. I don't have a lot of energy for a lot of things right now. But I'm just grateful every day that he keeps giving me strength to push forward, to move forward. And so whatever strength I do have right now, I want to be able to give it towards a good cause. And so if that cause has to be faith and fertility, then so be it. So I'm excited to see what God does. And at the end of the day, even though this seems like the worst thing right now that I'm dealing with, he does all things well. And even though I can't trace his hand right now, I still trust his heart. And so again, thank you for your support, whatever you're able to do. I appreciate that. Definitely feel free to share this with others. If there are anybody that's dealing with infertility, because I know, again, I'm not the only one, please feel free to share it with them, because sometimes you do feel like you're by yourself in this. And it's even harder when you don't have a spouse to like walk through all of this. So I really had to experience God in a different way. But anything that you can do to help, even if you can't give, trust me, there is no love lost. But being able to share it would definitely mean the world to me. And I definitely will make sure to keep you all posted on things as they continue to progress in these next 30 days. So again, thank you so much. I love you guys. Continue to pray for me, and I will definitely make sure to do the same for you. You all take care, and you be blessed.